it's a plot to drop the IQ. Fighting amongst each other over rumors that don't like you. Prefer us trapped in melancholy with the wood ones of holly. Suggestions that obliterate to camouflage the folly. Attempted mental robbery, executed sloppily. The hypocrisy, this mockery, and walk the talk with me. Put the hands up to touch the Akasha, cause you know deep down there's something bigger than your wallet.
Sweet eternal balance of all that is good, true, and beautiful, friends. It is all about mindfulness and perceptions, and as much as we may have heard that, we don't often do anything about it. We think we know, and then we rush on to the next, and then the next, and then the next thing without practicing what we claim to understand. So tonight on Middle Path, we get to understand more deeply, see into the hidden aspects of people's psychology, and put it all into practice as we chat with a pastor and a background in theology, religion, education, and psychology, an author and a leader, Dr. Myke Merrill. Nice to meet you, Dr. Myke.
It's very nice to meet you as well. I'm glad to be here. And that was such an effective introduction. You have caused my West Coast friend to burst into laughter.
Blushing. And
I don't blush.
That's not even all of it either. So
no, I know.
Yeah, you could go on and on and on. Sure, go ahead.
Yeah, see, he's the empathetic one. I'm the pathetic one. So introduce the other Myke too.
All right, nice to meet you, and thanks for being here. And then we also get to chat with a social scientist and educational professional with a religious background who has traveled all around the world to implement healing and understanding practices, Michael Wilson. Michael, thank you for being here tonight.
Oh, I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
That's great.
It's very kind of you. I can sit in my air-conditioned room. I like that. So
yeah, I didn't turn my air conditioning on, which is the worst choice I've ever made. But I do want to invite everyone listening out there to grab the All Endings Are Beginnings book now. In the Lightning Oracle round, I showed off how you can use this channeled book as a God-shot oracle answer serving servant of the universal flow of truth straight into your heart and mind. And lo and behold, fantastic supporter and friend of the show, Ego Death Drew, shared in rogue.locals.com, where everybody could be a supporter and join the community for as little as $2 a month, his question about whether we are trapped here in this realm, and returned an amazingly direct response. So I encourage everyone to both go check it out in Locals and see what his answer was. And also, you can do that for free. Even if you can't, swing the $2 to be able to comment, you can also just go look and see. But also grab the book, buy the book directly from the site, rogueways.org. I sign it and give you a little inscription, and then you get it for, I think it's $10. It's really, really, really cheap too. So that was a really fun thing that happened recently. But now Dr. Myke and Myke will get to the pointless question of the episode, which I was going to ask you guys what your favorite type of candy or dessert is.
favorite kind of candy or dessert? Well, being a good Northwest guy who skis a bit, I say first the candy has to be a Snickers bar because that's what all skiers eat, right?
That's true.
So, yep. So Snicker bars probably is my candy. I'm not a big candy guy, and I'm not a big sweets guy.
See, you told me right before the show started, you told me you were in Wenatchee, so I thought you were going to say applets and cotlets.
Oh, no. Oh, please. No. I have to be politically correct, but never mind.
Yeah.
We'll leave that alone. No, there's something about jellied goo that just
it's not appealing to you.
With nuts in it. Yeah, like, ah. So, baklava.
Ooh, good choice.
Baklava with a really good cup of demitasse.
I don't even know what that
Preferably
half milk. Coffee with half milk.
Preferably someplace in Italy or Israel. Yes.
I'm with you. Yeah. Let's make that happen sometime, and it'll be fun. What about you, Dr. Myke?
For me, I'm unable to resist any kind of cookie. It's crunchy. It's got everything in it. It can be plain, simple, lemon filled. It does not matter to me. If there's cookies around, I eat them.
Yum. Now you make me want cookies. I've been on a hunt for molasses cookies, which apparently don't exist anymore, and I don't understand what happened to the world. I can't find them.
They come out in February.
Oh, okay.
They're not around right now.
They
wait till, it's a winter cookie.
I never knew that.
I make them all year round.
Hey, I think
soft
I'm going to move in with
cookies.
Myke.
But that's you.
So what's your candy? You didn't do the candy. Come on.
I don't like candy.
No, just
there's no candy I like.
I just found
Why does that surprise me?
And I say to my children and my grandchildren, I am already sweet enough, and they laugh their heads off when I say that.
It's
But
I
true.
I get nauseous when you say
I
things
know.
like that. I just get nauseous.
Tums would be my favorite candy. No, I really don't like
Well,
it.
to give to me when you say things like that, yes.
True.
It's perfect. I just found a British shop and I found these little gummy bears that are like the best gummy bears that have ever been made. And I had no idea the British made the best gummy bears, but they do. And they exist. So, if each of you would just share with us briefly what your field is, your book maybe, and how you kind of came together to do that, that would be great. And then we'll get into a little practice for everybody to follow along with, or an exercise.
Myke and I are troublemakers,
I like those.
which is another word for saying we lead other people to do things that they wouldn't have done ordinarily. We have always been like that. I was the kid in third grade that would get everybody to drop their pencils at 3 minutes after the hour, and I wouldn't do it, and I wouldn't get in trouble. But I could get everyone else to do it. And I learned leadership skills by doing that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I was labeled as a troublemaker from the very beginning, and I found that trouble, a good kind of trouble, is really essential in today's world. It was when I was growing up, it still is. So Myke and I independently began working with youth. We were working in a church denomination, and youth was kind of the cesspool of ministry. You got dumped on youth. You did it for a year or two. When you finally grew up, you could get on the finance committee or the board of administration or something really important. And independently from each other, Myke and I decided that if you change a generation of young people, you'll change the world.
Yeah.
And so we put our heart and soul, our minds, our skills, everything we had into running camps, conferences, writing, training, drawing alongside, walking alongside youth and youth workers. And we began to change the world.
That's a beautiful. I love that. I'm absolutely with you. We need more troublemakers. We need good troublemakers, and we definitely need good people working with youth to change the world. Absolutely.
In essence, if you want to manage the world, you work with adults. You can deal with systems and policies. You can deal with what level of drug use do you want to have? How much money do you want to earn? What kind of clothing or car do you want to drive? What education? Who do you want to live with? What's your sexuality? All those things are being decided in a person's life between 10 and 25 or so, 12 and 25. And so if you're going to walk alongside people who are making those decisions and influence how they understand themselves and the world they live in, you work with adolescents, which is all the way through age 20 something.
Yeah.
And if you want to manage that or help people go through crisis or shift, then you work with adults. And we now have skills across the board, but our preference really is youth ministry. You want to tell how we met, how we connected up?
And I think one of the things in that whole concept is that two things is in one is that Myke was labeled a troublemaker. I was the troublemaker, and I got everybody else to do my dirty work just like he did. The difference was I never got caught. And I always was the guy who was the friend of the principal, and I did all the leadership stuff. And I was this class president, ASB president, state ASB president, all that kind of garbage. And I never got caught, and I always was causing problems. So, we come from a real long line of troublemakers. What's fascinating about a couple things is that what he says, if you want to change the world, is that people don't realize if you want to really change the world, we start working with students, particularly in the high school area, because it's kind of the hourglass effect. If you want to really make your bang for your buck, as far as you're going to make real change, it's like this. You start out with multiple families. You get smaller, they go to elementary schools, there's more concentration of kids. You go to middle schools, more concentration of kids. But where is the highest concentration in our country at any one time for 4 picking years or 3 years is in high school. And that's a time when kids have they've gone through puberty, they can think abstractly, they don't have the experience, they're now young men and women. And then when they get done with that, what do? College and jobs, and you go back out. So it's an hourglass. But if you really want to be effective, put your money right there and put your time and energy and resource right there. That's what Myke and I did. We first met, we were actually we were in trouble.
Not surprised.
And we had gotten nicely summoned to the denominational headquarters. We were going to be hopefully encouraged. Yeah, but we basically were going to be talked to and get straightened out by the denominational director for student ministries. And that's what we met. We walked into this little hotel that the denomination owned at the time. And we were standing at the counter, and the bishop came roaring in. One of the bishops came roaring in and was all frustrated because he couldn't get in his room where we were waiting for the receptionist. Nobody was there. And he was all fussing and taking off. And so he ran away. He
locked his key in his room.
In his room. So he ran away. And Myke looks at me and I look at him and I'm just kind of shrugging. And Myke just walks up the stairs. And I go, okay, whatever. So he comes back down and we took care of our business. We sat down and he blows the bishop again. And and Myke goes, Bishop, your room's open. We got it open for you. And he goes, oh, well, thank you. And he took off. And we're just sitting there and I'm looking at him and he's looking at me and I'm going, oh, cool. And he said, don't ask. And I said, why would I? And so,
I have certain skills that came out of my adolescence.
Yeah.
That I chose not to necessarily share with people who were doing ministry screening.
Yes.
So it was at that point we looked at each other and Myke said, I think we're going to be lifelong friends. And I said, sure, sounds good to me. And that was 36 years ago.
Wow. I love that story.
So we have been in and out of trouble many times, doing multiple things, but really, and how did we get to where we are? And this is really what we bring to the table with the book, really, that Myke wrote. What I primarily do is help people understand what he writes. I translate it from the standpoint of us being able to say, okay, what can we do to help you here? But this is not a theoretical book. It's not it's not an academic book. It is how we have been able to help people for many, many years throughout the process. And we're still learning. And
you're dancing all around the fire. The book is called Why Do People Act That Way? And
what can I do
about it?
I love it.
There's two very critical questions, and they're on the lips of people all the time, which is why I named the book that. Why do people act that way? If I titled the book, Why Do I Act That Way? We would have sold about 4 copies.
Yeah, I don't
because nobody wants to be self-analytical. They want to know why other people do what they do. Well, that way we can kind of creep into their mental awareness of reality and their part in it. Why do people act that way is a frequent question. And what can I do about it? Not what must I do about it or what should I do about it, but what can I do about it? And that became the 2 rails that we roll this train on. What Myke does is he helps people connect all the dots. And what I do is I teach what the dots are. And so we work really well together.
And those are the 2 questions I want to ask about anything I'm encountering, right? Like, why is it this way? And then what does it matter to me, or what can I do about it, right?
Sure.
So that's it's very insightful. And so I know that we want to start, before we dive deeper into the contents of the book and your guys' work together, into an exercise that one of you is going to lead us. But first, I'm going to tell the YouTube watchers that if you're still on YouTube, hop over to Rockfin. Posting the link right now. It's free. You can come over and support the channel there. And otherwise, we'll see you guys next time, because Rockfin is, Middle Path is a Rockfin exclusive. So bye-bye, YouTube. We love you. Have fun. See you on Rockfin.